Looks like we're on red here, yeah. I'm live in red. That's the way it goes. I guess the program is the signal from YouTube. It's whatever, okay, but I'm up here. Anyhow, I figured I'd come up here and do a live stream today. As people have noticed, I've moved back over to the dating scene topics a little bit more than the political arena. And a lot of that's because the political arena is such a joke. People speaking out against MWO and so on and so on. When you watch what's really going on, not that there isn't some good people out here speaking up, it's the fact is we have nothing but a show with the majority of it. It's the same things over and over and over and over and over again that we all know. And nobody's doing anything about it. Nobody's willing to do anything about it. The most they're going to do about it is jump up here on a computer, open their mouth, and then do absolutely nothing. Everybody's too divided to stand up against the criminals anyhow. The majority of what truthers are speaking out are hypocrites. I think some of them are just jealous because they're not in the elite's position themselves. And so they're only doing it because of jealousy. Some of them are just complete bumbling idiots, okay? And then we have to look at the reality of it between the normies and the so-called normies and people speaking out on the other end of the platform here are sound asleep to what's going on the other side and don't care what's going on the other side, okay? And think they're going to somehow overturn evil while they're a hypocrite and doing the very things that they're complaining about. You know, you're going to complain about some damn politician up at the top, or you're going to complain about the globalists, the elite people there, or the Masons, and on and on and on, okay, that are doing all this evil onto us, but you're not going to practice getting up and doing anything about it. None of you are going to stand together, and some of you have the same mindset they do already anyhow. You want to try to control other people, tell other people what to think. You want to dominate and rule over the top of other people, which is the same thing these psychopaths are doing that you're complaining about. And so then when I witness that type of behavior coming out your mouth, you're no better than the people you're speaking up against. You don't want to be told what you can and can't do yourself. You don't want to be told how to think or how to feel about things yourself, but you're so willing to try to dictate somebody else and do the very thing the elite's doing unto us, onto them. And when somebody says, recognize right from wrong, put yourself in somebody else's shoes and think about how you would feel if it was happening to you. Practice doing unto one as you want done unto yourself. You let that go right over your head. You won't acknowledge it. You turn your back. You look the other way. You pretend they never said it. Okay, because you don't want to hear it because it's the raw truth in your face, and you don't want to freaking think there's anything wrong with yourself while you're just as socially engineered and brainwashed as everybody else, and while you're representing the very problem that you're complaining and whining about. You're going to come up here and you're going to be a hypocrite. You're going to say all this shit. Meanwhile, you're doing the very thing that the elite are doing themselves. It's complete, utter insanity. You know, and I watch it all the time. I see it in my face all the time, and I watch it online. It's really bad. It's really bad. You meet somebody who you think is a really good person, you blah, 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 you work with them, you do things with them, you know. No puns intended, but this is the truth, okay? And behind the scenes, you represent that of the elite. You act like the elite. You try to control. And then you try to control the so-called friends' material. You come over and watch one of their videos and have a fit over how they said something in the video you don't agree with, or blah, 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 or you try to use shaming tactics on them to control them. And you let your head swell up with your ego and you act like you're somebody you're not because of your ego. That's right, you let your ego run you. You become a narcissist psychopath like the people you're speaking up against because you've allowed your ego to control you because you have ego. It's complete insanity. You know, and when you come behind the scenes and do things behind the people's back that you don't want them to know you're doing because you're speaking the opposite of what you're doing. So you're not even willing to practice what you're preaching on to other people. So you have no right speaking out and telling somebody else when you're not even willing to practice it yourself. And then, of course, your ego and your people are going to tell yourself, well, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not changing a thing about myself. Okay? You're not willing to look to see if you're doing, check your own self and see if you're doing any of these wrong behaviors yourself. Because you believe somehow that you're superior to somebody else when you're not, which is the same mindset the elite have. And this is what I'm witnessing all the time. All the freaking time. Makes me sick. It really does. And that's one of the reasons I decided not to do anything on that end of the arena too much anymore, because I've done it for years, and just about everything you people are talking about's already been said over and over and over and over and over again. And nobody cares. Nobody's willing to do anything about it. Nobody's going to stand up. They're all too cowardly. And anybody that does try to stand up is going to get shut down, or you're going to get jealous of one another, and you're going to have your infighting, and you're going to attack each other. Because, you know, you got truthers up here who have flying eagles going, you know, out of control and think there's something they're not. People come along that's, and other people's been here for years saying the same things over and over. And new people come aboard within a year or two. They've had it swelled up. Their eagles flying high. They act like they're the only ones that ever talked about this topic, and nobody else is doing anything, and only they're doing something. And they give themselves all this credit for doing what nobody else is doing when everybody else that was doing it along for them. You disregard them, you turn your back to them, you ignore them, and you try to take all the credit for yourself. All based on your ego. Then you wonder why we get nowhere. So in reality, the truther movement was created by the CIA anyhow. And in reality, the majority of all the truthers up online are fraudulent, phony fakes. You know, and it's sick, it's sad. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. And we come over to the manosphere and we look at all the infighting. You know, I sent a message out. I did a reply at Big Toe Monk, you know, Mike the Big Toe Monk, okay? And I have yet to hear back from the guy. I haven't heard a comment. He hasn't left a comment. He's completely ignored it, okay? Which I suspected was going to happen anyhow. But you know, actions speak louder than words. They always have. And time tells all. So, see, I say nothing more other than tell you right now that y'all seen me do it. I even talked about a live stream. So, y'all know I've already invited the guy over to do a live stream, and let's talk. Let's just talk, right? For the public to hear. And now you all see, if you watch clearly, that he's ignoring me. This is what I expected would happen to begin with, okay? This is what I expect from you phony, fraudulent big tollers to begin with. You're going to say you're not phony, you're going to say you're not fraudulent, but you're not willing to back your own ass up. And that only, you know, actions speak louder than words. If you're for real, as you tell everybody, then you would want to do something like this. You would want the manosphere to stop the division. You would want to bring us back together because you're for real. You would want us working together when the common denominator in the manosphere is the same thing regardless of what name you're giving yourself. It's all the same complaints. Across the board, if you really look at it, whether you're MGTOW, whether you're MRA, whether you're incel, whether you're TFL, whether you're love shy, you can take all the names you want to give it, you look at the whole cause, and you listen to these people's videos and their complaints throughout the entire manosphere and all the different groups and forms and names, and the complaints, the majority of them are all the same. Exactly the same over and over and over again. Which means we should all be working together. But you don't want that. You want your division. Some of you are up here just for the show, and I think that's what Mike is doing. I think it's just a show to him, a persona. like he's flying on an eagle, which will corrupt him. Now, if I'm wrong, I would, I will gladly say I'm sorry about that, but he has to prove himself first. I've been here a lot of years and speaking out on this type of stuff for a lot of years, and I don't tell you to do something I'm not willing to do myself. Never have and never will. I'm not going to practice being a hypocrite for anybody. But unfortunately, the incels are full of hypocrites. The truther movement is loaded with hypocrites. MGTOW is loaded with hypocrites and phonies and fakes. You wonder why you're not believable or trustable. It's because actions speak louder than words. You give somebody a fair chance, and it's something as simple as the manosphere, when we all should be working together instead of fighting one another. Even when you're giving good videos and you're talking about truth, you're talking about symptoms. In the manosphere, this is what's been going on for neons now, forever. Okay? Symptom, 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 symptom. Nobody wanting to address the root cause. You're running from the root cause. So what I would hope would happen for you, if that's what you want to spend your life doing, is the next time your car breaks down, or you have to call a plumber, or you have to call somebody to fix your furnace, or whatever it is, they should go ahead and look for the symptom and not fix your problem, because they don't give a shit about the root cause, and charge you money to leave you with the same problem and watch you complain that it's not fixed. Because that's exactly what you're doing in the manosphere. That's exactly what you're doing over on the other end. You're chasing symptoms. And for the ones that are looking for root causes, they're almost a waste of time too, because they don't mean it. They're preaching to preach on to the public and not even practicing the behavior themselves. That's right. Behind the scenes, they're doing the opposite of what they tell you. And they're thinking of ways to get themselves more views because they're after popularity. They're after some B10 fame. But they're not going to own up to that or admit that because they're running on their ego. But their actions are going to tell on them, and they think everybody's stupid around them. They know they're smarter than you. They know they're smarter than me. They know they're smarter than you. They know they're smarter than everybody around them. Yeah, they know this already because they've convinced themselves of that. And meanwhile, they're actually not when they think they are. And they do things and say things and think that you're dumb, think that you forget, play you for stupid. And meanwhile, you see right through them because actions speak louder than words. Always have and always will. All you got to do is sit back and watch somebody and give them time. If they're real, it's going to show. With time, you actually see they're real by watching them, paying attention to their body language, their posture, their behaviors. If they're running on ego, you're going to see that. And if they're running on ego, that's going to be your first red flag that's going to say, watch them closer. Pay attention to what they're saying. Remember what they say. Why? Because when they're running on ego, they're going to become corrupt and they're going to start double speaking. Yep. Or they'll know more about something and, they'll play Mr. Know-It-All because of ego, and they'll want everybody to be convinced how smart and how knowledge they are. And they'll talk BS, not even knowing what they're talking about. And they'll argue with you over their BS. They sure will. And then, of course, they're not going to allow you your own opinion either, because remember, they already know more than you. And you're not allowed your own opinion. Okay? Only they are allowed their opinion. You're not allowed yours. You're denied your opinion. You're attacked before your opinion if your opinion don't match their brain. If you're not thinking with their brain, it's just like the elite. You're not thinking with the brain in the jar on the shelf, the all-hive mind. This is what people do. It's disgusting. It's sick. It's totally off the wall behavior. And this is what you see. It's sad. Because, it's even like with Jerry. I worked with Jerry for a long time. We did a lot of videos and stuff together. But unfortunately, Jerry runs on ego. Unfortunately, Jerry Eagle started standing out and started corrupting his behaviors. And of course, people behind the scenes, you don't see what's going on behind the scenes. But the person who's working with him, talking to him every day, witnesses and sees. And then when that person starts playing you for dumb and looking down on you and thinks that they're smart, and they'll use shaming tactics, and they'll say things they shouldn't say to you because their ego's inflated. They're angry because I did a dating scene topic video or I talked about real truth that they don't want to hear or they don't want to acknowledge. It's no difference in the manosphere. You speak up and you got these so-called normies and white knights and simps, these weak-minded, brainwashed individuals who claim to be awake that are speaking on the other end, who are going to be the first ones to use shaming tactics against you because you're a male. They're going to attack you because of your gender. They're going to tell you you're mentally ill. They're going to tell you you're a woman hater. They're going to tell you all of this off-the-wall nonsense that you're not. They're going to become angered at what they hear you saying in a video. And then behind the scenes, they're going to come at you and they're going to attack you for saying what you said in your video, even if it had nothing to do with them. And they're not going to tell the public they done that. Then they're going to play the victim role and paint you out as the perpetrator when in reality they're the one that attacked you. So they're doing the very psychopathic thing that we see going on in our society, from brainwashing, ego, which is power and greed. They become corrupt themselves and they don't want the public knowing this because they got their phony image they're feeding the public. And then, of course, it makes me sick when I see this, It's no different than when Rhonda, oh yeah, I said the name, didn't I? That would be Matilda, by the way. No one better as Rhonda. I won't say her last name because I'm not up here to get her in trouble. There's lots of Rhondas in the world, right? So I'm not going to say her last name for you. I'm not going to tell you which state she lives in or anything like that. That's all private information because I do have respect. It's not about destroying her personal life. But, she came up on the show. She did some TFL topic live streams with me. And then out of nowhere, when she got mad, she decided she was going to play dictator too. She had watched a video and saying I'd say something, and blah, blah, blah. And immediately, what is she's mad at hell at me? I said something in a video. She needs to control me. I need a boss. I need to be controlled. Well, it's the same thing Jerry did. I needed a boss. I needed to be controlled. I'm not allowed to say this and this in a video. I've been making videos and doing this stuff for years. She don't make crap as far as doing this stuff for years. Jerry's only been here for a year and a half, 2 years tops. But, he already knows more than I do when it comes to this because his eagles told him so. Jerry's not stupid. He's an intelligent man. He has lots of history behind him. He's got a lot of knowledge in areas other people don't got. But other people have knowledge in areas he don't got, but he'll never admit that. Okay? And that's not a reason to look down on somebody because what Jerry's good at, somebody else may not be good at, but what they're good at, he won't be no good at. So what, they should look down on him because he don't know something they know? No, they shouldn't. That's corruption. And the only reason I'm bringing these names up is because, like, Matilda Rhonda, she had to decide that she was going to dictate what I say in a video and be mad at me and attack me for making a video that had nothing to do with her. Okay? But I was to be controlled. She even had to try to change the name of TFL. Oh, she thought she was funny when she did that one. She flipped the name of TFL to wrong want. She literally did. And I know what it was to do. It was to try to intimidate me, shame me. It was. That's what it was. It was shaming tactics and intimidation to try to control me. That's what that was about. Just like with Jerry, behind the scenes. You know, I did a video, let's talk about anger. I also talked about MGTOW and talked about men in the manosphere. I talked about relationships, women's behavior and men's behavior. I stayed fair to both genders straight across the board. And I got attacked behind the scenes by Jerry for doing so. This is the stuff that none of you people see. I was even told, go ahead and put that video up on his channel over on BitChute. Okay? Leave it up there. He don't care that it's up there. And you watch and see. You're going to get slammed in the comments. People are going to say this and this, and they're going to rah to you. He convinced me firmly that how people were going to be angry and how I was going to be slammed down in the comment section of that video. And he says, you watch and see. And so I watched and I watched and I watched, and over a week's time, I only had one comment under that video, and it was a comment agreeing with me. All of the on-harmony attacks that Jerry told me I was going to receive never happened. Why did they never happen? Because people actually recognized the truth. Jerry was busy going with the programming, with social engineering. He was busy being that simp, that vagina. You know? So then they thought they'd use shaming tactics at me. Jerry and Rhonda both did. And they told him, that was these two who told me, well, then you're being a white knight for men, because I talked about the white knights for women. Because the problem with the manosphere are the women and the men. When all these millions of guys all over the world saying the same thing about the women's behavior, isn't a lie. It's truth. And white knights, simps, vaginas, whatever you want to call them, these men are enablers of that problem. That problem was created by social engineering from NWO. It's wrong behavior, and if you tell them you practice doing unto one another what you want done unto yourself and has nothing to do with gender, they go, and they ignore that. They blow that off because that means personal responsibility that they don't want. So what do? They attacked me. I was the white knight. Why was I white knight for men? Because that was supposed to be a shaming tactic. Because men are so busy attacking men, they thought that that would shame me. So my answer to that was, I'm proud to be a white knight for men. Because there ain't nobody speaking up for men. And the ones that do speak up for men get attacked. Mainly by other men. But then there was Rhonda sitting there going right along with that. Yeah, that means you're a white knight for men. Of course she did. If they could shame me, then they could control me, right? This means they could silence me so that I wouldn't tell truth about topics they don't want you knowing the truth about. That's taboo. That's not to be discussed. That's not to be talked about. We are to hide that topic so that it never changes. We don't care if it's corruption. We don't care if it's social engineering for NWO. Because, see, it's not affecting me because I'm already corrupt. That's what they're really saying about themselves. They're really telling you they're corrupt themselves when they represent that type of behavior. Then people wonder what happened between me and Jerry. Well, that's what happened between us. Ego got in the way. Bullshit got in the way. Because anybody that knows me knows that I've spoken both ends for all these years I've been doing it. I don't come up and lie to people. I tell people just what I feel. I tell you the truth, and I don't play favoritism to either gender. But because I'm not playing favoritism to the female gender, I'm going to be attacked. Now, I've been attacked over and over throughout the years. I sure have. It's not like Jerry's the only one that ever done this to me, because he's not. It's not like Rhonda's the first female to try to betray me and pretend they see the problem and go along with it to try to sway you a different direction. And if that wasn't her intent, then she'd have to answer why she changed the name of TFL to her own want. Yeah, that was to try to use shaming tactics at me to piss me off, to make me feel bad, so that they could control me, so that they could shut me up, so that I wouldn't talk about certain topics, especially on the manosphere side, especially pointing out corruption from both genders. Oh, they don't mind so much if I point it out from the man. But boy, if you point out that woman's bad behaviors caused by NWO, then that becomes a problem. I might run off all the women. Yep, that's what that comes down to. So, and the list of problems just keep going on and on and on. So today's rant is basically the corruption from within the manosphere clear over to the so-called phony baloney truthers. Okay? And the only reason I bring up MGTOW Mike is because they've experienced this for years now with frauds online in the manosphere. Okay? Who ain't willing, because they're not for real, that's right, to back up what they say. So, and so the problems are just as simple as what I've said. So when it came to Rhonda and Jerry, unfortunately, even though I'd like to do, and I did a lot of work with Jerry, for him to try to control me and shut me up on topics that are absolutely going on, okay? And then tell me how angry he gets when he sees a video like that because he's such a good enabler, okay? Enabler of the problem that social engineering is given to us that's caused. And if I was so nuts, you wouldn't have millions of men all over the world saying the same damn thing about the female behavior. But because he don't want to hear that, because it pisses him off, he had to attack me behind the scenes. And then the shaming tactics to shut me up was just pathetic. That's why I told people I've seen this coming for about 6 months. I already knew what the outcome was going to be. Because I don't play into it, and you're not going to use shaming tactics to shut me up. You only showed your true colors of yourself. And really, as far as I'm concerned, you don't belong up online speaking out against NWO because you already corrupt yourself. You're no better than the people that you're complaining about. You're just like them. You're trying to control somebody else. You're trying to take somebody else's opinions away from them while you want to express your own. Oh, well, if you're my friend, you're going to do as I say and think with my brain. No, I'm not. That's not a friend. That's a dictator. Nobody needs a dictator. And if I was so off cue, then there wouldn't be millions of men all over the world saying the exact same thing. But because you don't want to acknowledge that isn't my issue, that's yours. And if you think that I can't speak out about this because you're not willing to speak out about it because it's too personal for you, that's not my issue. Once again, that's your issue. But you have no right attacking me. So the man that was supposed to be my friend that was working with on videos says telling me I've got mental issues and that I'm a woman hater at this time in my life. And he's trying to figure out what's wrong with me. He even dared me to do a video and said, you won't do it. Do a 10-minute video worshiping women. Then he changed it from worshiping to praising all of the good women. So let's just keep them right up on that pedestal. Let's not call any woman out for their wrong behaviors, right? Isn't that what he was really telling me? So he was angry with me for speaking the truth. But see, anybody that's watched me for any amount of years sees how fast I'll attack a man too. I'll slam that man to the ground when he's in the wrong. But I'll also slam that woman to the ground when she's in the wrong. Because it's about recognizing right from wrong. It's not about genders. It's not a gender issue. But they perceive and make it into a gender issue the minute you speak up against the opposite gender. It's all right to slam the man to the ground, and you wonder why all the men are so divided, huh? And so my goal for 2019 for the manosphere would be to bring these men together and to stop the infighting. Because when the common denominator is TFL, men going their own way, men's right activists, incel, love shy, don't matter what form you want to move into, all the complaints that you're watching, the majority, not all, but the majority are the common denominator of the exact same complaints. So there is absolutely insanity for us not to be working together. And so, if MGTOW Monk Mike is as real as he's claiming he is, then he should understand what I'm saying and want to work together. And he should be able to come up and talk, and you should be able to talk together. And you should be able to start looking for root causes, and you should work together to expose the causes of the problems we're having, not just the symptoms. That's the whole intentions behind that. But I really suspect what we're going to find happening and seeing happening is people like Mike the MGTOW Monk are going to ignore me. They're going to blow me off, and actions speak louder than words. In their actions, they will tell on themselves. And as they tell on themselves with their own actions, I'm going to be right here to remind you of their actions so that you can clearly see through them yourself so that you know who's real and who's fake. That's what that's going to be about. So since this is what's going on for years in the manosphere, if we're ever going to bring us together, then we need to be real. We can't be here for just our entertainment purposes, for our own selfish ego. Millions of men all over the world are being affected by this, and then you idiots are going to come up here for ego, for their own little popularity contest, or for game. No, they're idiots. They don't belong here. When you can be real, let me know. Because I'm quite real about what I do. I don't double speak to you. I'm not going to behind the scenes be doing the very same thing I'm telling you not to do. No, that's not who I am. I'm not expecting you to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. When I tell people recognize right from wrong, I mean it. See, it also applies to me. I have to be able to recognize right from wrong. And I'm going to separate from the people who wrong me. If you claim to be my friend and you're telling me I'm a woman hater and I have mental issues at this time in my life, obviously you're not my friend. And if it's all based on truth that you're not willing to look into because it's too personal for you, and you just want me to shut my damn mouth so you can silence me and keep the women on a pedestal, then I'm going to show you this. And you're going to see that loud and clear. Because I'm not going to shut up for you. We just won't be working together no more because I can't work with that kind of hypocrite. I'm not going to work with an angina, a simp, somebody who's an enabler for New World Order, who claims to be fighting NWO, who claims to be fighting the corruption. But then, once again, I've said it before, they think it's a buffet line. They can select out whatever they want and leave the rest of the corruption in place. So you're going to fight evil. It's a war of evil versus good. You're going to select out what evil you want to take out and leave the rest of evil in place, huh? Well, then you lost. You couldn't win that war. When you don't care about millions of men all over the world that are being dumped on, and you think you can use that as a shaming tactic to shut me up and say, well, then that makes you a white knight for men, as if somehow that's an insult. That's not an insult. The insult is that nobody's standing up for men. And you're all too busy throwing each other under the bus while you're being made into jackasses, excuse my language. While you're being made into fools. And for the men who play into this to become the enablers, that's like being the enabler. I mean, that's like, I don't mind looking like a complete dumbass. I don't care if my world bends me over every day. I don't care if I'm disposable. I'm garbage. I'm trash in everybody's eyes because I have a penis between my legs. You see how bad that division is? And you should already know the division's that bad. You can't turn on a TV set without finding male shaming going on 365 days a year. So yes, you should already all know it's that bad. The male shaming is everywhere. But do you see any female shaming going on? Oh, no, 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 no. And even the word loser, yes, women do get called losers, but nowhere like men do. When you hear people calling people losers, 99.9% of the time they're talking about a man. A man is labeled as the loser, not a woman. Not that a woman can't be labeled a loser, because there are women that have been. But the problem is still right down to the same of labeling and giving names to people and putting people down. It's evil. It's wrong. There's nobody that better above somebody else. And that has nothing to do with gender. But we see this all the time, don't we? And that's why I talked about ego, because ego's the one thing I see nobody talking about. I've been doing this for years, and I've been watching ego in my own life long before I came up online, before they even had the internet. I've watched the corruption in my own face my whole life off and on when it comes to people's ego. And so when I decided to call out ego, I called it out because it needed to be called out. And I knew I was going to piss some people off. I really did. And I did just that. You know, so you don't see Jerry and I working together no more, but he is not the victim here. He has played the victim role. He's told everybody he's tired of being abused by me. But what people didn't see behind the scene, the one doing the abusing was him. He was actually abusing me. I'm not the one that told him he had mental issues. I'm not the one that told him he was a woman hater. See, he didn't do that in the public's eyes. He done that to me. He sure did. He was attacking me behind the scenes, not me attacking him. And then when I talked about a topic he didn't want talked about, then I was abusing him. It was a toxic relationship. Yep. So he plays the victim role. And isn't that what we see going on in today's society to begin with? The perpetrator is wanting to be the perpetrator plus the victim. And it's not that Jerry isn't handicapped, because the man is handicapped. That's all legit. That's not a lie. But what's he going to use his handicap as I'm the victim now? When he's actually a handicapped man being a perpetrator? If he wants to be handicapped and be a perpetrator and then play the victim role, which is insanity. It makes him no better than the people he's speaking up against. So I don't care what videos he does anymore, because he is no better than the criminals he's talking about. I witnessed too much from him that I would never do, ever. And if he was such my friend, he sure to hell wouldn't have been telling me I am a woman hater and I have mental issues at this time in my life. Meanwhile, I have a wife. Which is pathetic, okay? It's just absolutely pathetic. Anybody that knows me for real knows I'm a long ways from being a woman hater. I hate corruption. That's what I hate. I hate double standards and corruption, because double standards is corruption. I hate wrongdoing unto others. I care about everybody and I want what's right for everybody. I don't play favoritism, but see, this is where I get attacked. Because you can't do what's right in today's society without being attacked by evil. And there's so many out here that are pretending to be the good guy that are evil as fuck. Excuse my language. But we're seeing it all over the place. In your own personal life, you're witnessing it with your own eyes. And then you come online and it's just like this big infestation of sick, twisted, narcissist, evil people. And then ego hasn't helped a damn thing because ego's only inflated people's heads and caused them, people who probably had really good intentions that were actually really good people, have allowed themselves to become corrupt through ego and not checking their own behaviors. I would have never had near the problems with some of the people I've had problems with over the years if it wasn't for them not being who they're claiming to be to the public. Them actually doing behind the scenes what they come up and tell everybody else not to do. Because I am a realist and I'm not going to tell you to do something in your life on a video or how this is wrong for you to do. And then behind the scenes, I'm going to do the very thing I told you not to do. I'm going to slam people who are doing that while I'm doing it myself. No, I'm not a hypocrite. I'm a realist. I will never do that in a million years. But so many people are willing to do that. And they will come up online and they will preach to preach and talk to talk and fail to walk the walk. And then when I see the behavior is the opposite of what you're preaching to the people, it pisses me off. Because you have no right telling other people that how wrong that is while you're doing it yourself. And to try to control somebody else's videos, to come onto their channel and tell them how they're supposed to think and what they're supposed to speak. And when it comes to the manosphere, shut your mouth. Because if you open your mouth and point at a female's corruption, you're a woman hater. You're a misogynist. You have mental issues. And as many times as I've heard this throughout the years of doing this, and every time I hear it, it's from a damn man. It's from a simp, a vagina, a weakling, an enabler of corruption. And then they want to say they're here for all of us, huh? They're going to fight the evil. They're going to overturn the evil. No, they're not. They couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag made of toilet paper. Because they're not willing to be honest. They see no problem with being a hypocrite. And they will excuse themselves too. They will always have their book of excuses. They'll reach under their bed and pull out their book of excuses that has an excuse for everything in the world in it. And I don't play into that. I never have. So over the years I've been doing this, you've seen the fallout, and that's why I told people this time between Steve Hoke and I, it ain't going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Steve Hoke and I are not going to be divided this time. We're not going to have no infighting for anybody. And I'm going to stay the man's friend. I've always liked Steve Hoke. We had differences from both of us being hot-headed. That's all it was. But as time went by, I learned to control myself a whole lot better. And Steve Hoke has actually done the same thing. And so now Steve Hoke and I can actually communicate. And that's really where it needed to be coming from to begin with. And I'm happy to be working with Steve Hoka again. It's not like Steve Hoka and I didn't work together before, because we did. And I'm happy to be working with Steve Hoka again, and I'm okay with it. And and that's like I told Steve, no, we're not fighting no more. That's done with. That's over with. It's not going there. Steve has the right to what Steve does, and Steve's going to be Steve Hoka because that's who he is, and by golly, and I'm going to stand by that. Okay? And that's what it is, And Steve knows who I am, and he's going to stand by that, and I'm going to stand by that, and we're going to be getting along. And you will see us doing more stuff together off and on. He'll do stuff on his own, I'll do stuff on my own, and we will do stuff together. And this is what I want for the Manosphere, too. This is why I tried to give MGTOW Monk Mike a fair shake. Because I want to bring the Manosphere together and stop the infighting. But I also have a suspicion feeling, as I'm doing this, we're going to find our fakes. Because our fakes will tell on themselves. Because they will not reply. They will not come aboard. They will not do a live stream. They won't get to know you. They won't talk about root causes. That's right. They will stay with symptoms. And they will ignore you and ignore you and ignore you. And when they do this, then you know their intentions is all about their own selfishness. You know they're not real. Because anybody that's real understands that millions of men are being affected by this. They don't like what they're being affected by. And they should want to be standing with other men that are affected the same way. And stop being made into fools while women can stand together and men can't. That's insanity. It's not that men can't. Men can. The men that don't want to is because they're fraudulent and they're trying to fucking please the opposite gender. That's really what that's about. Because there would be no reason other than you're trying to fit in and still please that opposite gender. And you're an enabler of that corruption. And you're allowing that corruption to continue. That would be the only real reason they would have for it. They can't say, well, it's because they don't like me. They don't know me to not like me. See, MGTOW Monk, Mike, the MGTOW Monk, does not know me. No more than I know him. So to say he don't like me would be an excuse to get out of, which would put him in the category of, I am a fake. I am a fraud. I am the person that you and Steve Hoke have been calling out. And that's why I don't like you. You don't like me because what? We told truth? Then that means you're dishonest. That means you're a deceiver. That's right. It means you're corrupt. And you should just shut your mouth. Because men that are going through this need to be standing together. And we need to be working together. And we cannot be chasing after women and working together. Because we already know how it goes. Because I tell you right, this is just written in TFL alone. In TFL alone, when I was doing the radio show, I had a woman who was really living TFL. No lie. See, it's not that women can't live TFL, because women do live TFL. But the majority of women who are living TFL are self-produced. They're living TFL because of their ability to keep rejecting. That's right. Self-produced. But this particular woman, her name was Jessica, was not self-produced TFL. She was actually through forced loneliness. She was forced. Now, we all know that's like Well, 1 in 5 million women might be actually TFL. And out of 5 million women, if 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 are living TFL, them are self-produced women. They're living it because of their status and quotes and their rejection and all the BS that's we all know about, the why us men are alone. Isn't that right? Yes. So Jessica was not. She was actually real TFL. How do I know this? Because I spent the better part of 3.5, 4 months talking to her personally. This is how I know this. Before she ever came up on that radio show. Then the TFLers, when I asked the TFLers for no TFLer to be hitting on this woman behind the scenes. Okay? And it wasn't to stop her from having a relationship, but what you would wind up would be a bunch of infighting amongst TFLers over a woman. Because they all wanted a woman. Do you follow what I'm saying? She don't need to be flooded by a penis fest of guys all wanting a woman and she's TFL. Because the guys will be ripping each other's throat out to get to this woman. Do you understand why I'm saying that? So I asked out of respect for nobody to be hitting on this woman on that radio show. So behind the scenes, as always, they listened as good as I expected. And now we have a TFLer fighting with Jessica. And Jessica calling into the radio show saying what's going on, and that TFLer calling in and wanting me to side with them when they clearly violated what I asked. There was no siding with them. I was not involved. They broke the rule. And this is why I asked TFLers not to be hitting on that woman. But they clearly messed that all up because they all had to chase after the same woman. I understand the want to not live TFL. I really do. But it was just wrong because that was the wrong way to go about it, you know. And so you scared her off from wanting to freaking be part of and speak out for what's right because y'all had to go do what you did, okay? What can I say? You know, and it wasn't her fault. It's just the way it happened, okay? TFL radio show on Blog Talk Radio. I don't know, what did I do that? 5 or 6 years straight? And at one point in time during the length of that show, when I was holding that show, it got pretty popular. I had lots of callers calling in, and people wasn't afraid to speak up then. Now, today's atmosphere is literally like we got a bunch of cowards. I mean, I had Dave and Warren on the show the other day. The program messed up, and I had to re-put the damn thing back up because part of the show, the audio wasn't catching them, and it was catching only me. And people heard me talking to Warren and David, but they didn't hear Warren or David. It was all messed up, okay? And that was thanks to a commenter that I caught it. And I actually appreciate the commenter saying, I don't hear him. Because that caused me in the middle of a live stream to go look to see what was going on. And then I had to correct the problem. But unfortunately, when it archived the entire thing with the audio missing from them two. So I had to go rip down the original archive and fix it and put it back up. And so that's what you saw. So that last live stream I have up outside today with Warren and David, you will hear them through the entire video on my channel because I uploaded it as a video after I fixed it. You know, okay, I want to go with what Big Jim's saying. Most TFLers are only friendly of any movement when they're totally incel. That's right. Big, okay, but once women become into the game, they're done with TFL. Well, yeah, no, okay. This is the big Jim here. I'm going to agree and disagree, and I'm going to let me explain myself, okay? I understand what you're saying, but you have to look at the corruption in today's society. So unless this TFL is going to bend over and be willing to be treated lower than a piece of dirt on the ground, and love drama, and love being abused, and become a slave to be used, that relationship most likely won't make it. Yes, I have a woman in my life, but I'm not going to lie to you. It's not easy, and I've already invited her to leave more than one time. And there's a fine line there, and as she crosses that line, I will get rid of her just that quick. Because I'm not going to be treated lower than dirt. I'm not going to be abused. I'm not going to abuse her. But I'm not going to be abused myself. And I have had her abuse me more than once. And when she does, I rip into her. I don't hold back. I let her have it. And I'll invite her to leave real quick. And if she was to continue to go down the road, I've told her, continue what you're doing, and you will take your shit, and you will be out of here. And I'm not kidding. I'm not joking. Okay? That is real. That's as real as it gets. And you're a TFL, you get a woman in your life. Now let's use a real example here for you, okay? You're living TFL. You're like David, 48 years old, still TFL. When he was in high school, he felt like the girls were literally forcing him to be alone. When he found TFL and found Steve Hoke and myself, he felt relief that somebody was finally talking about it. And it was through no fault of his own. So I want you to think about the guy that's lived TFL for 15, 20 years, who just happens to get a woman in his life for the first time. He's going to most likely run into a narcissist, psychopathic woman who put on an act and put on her best face at the beginning. And now that she feels she has him and they're in a relationship together, her true colors are going to come out. Do you follow what I'm saying? And the behavior that you didn't see before is going to show up. Okay, and this is where it becomes tough. Because this is where you have to be a man. And you have to draw a line in the sand. And you have to say, okay, the damage from TFL, okay, isn't going to go away if you've lived it 10, 15, 20 years. You're always going to remember. And unfortunately, that's going to be a driver that's going to cause you harm. Because you will fear losing the woman that you got. Because you don't want to live TFL again. Right? Right, guys? You know that's what's going to happen. But if you don't stand as a man and draw a line in the sand, then you will be miserable. You will live a life of living hell. And then, when she finds somebody else and throws you away, you'll be living TFL, and now you have been abused, treated lower than dirt, and you have bent over and forsaken being a man for what? There's nobody worth living with that will not treat you as a human being. I don't care who it is. And because we have pampered the female gender, placed them above ourselves, and have double standards, which is corruption, and play into all the social engineering, we have created narcissistic, psychopathic women that are full of entitlement issues, full of baggage you want nothing to do with, and you will get with this girl. She will lie to you and tell you that she's only had one or two men or whatever she's decided she's going to pull out her anal. And she's going to put on her best behavior, her act, her fake face, and you're not going to see the real her until she has you hooked. Then you're going to meet the real woman you just thought you meant, and you're going to find out she's not who she pretended to be. You're going to find the real her, and you're going to live a life of misery. Now, I'm not trying to shoot anybody down here. I'm telling you the God's honest truth. And you have to remember this, because you may be sad. It's not right for you to have to live TFL, to be forced to be alone. It's wrong when other men are attacking other men for living it. When they're living it themselves, they'll deny it because they don't like the name, or they'll make up a new name to hide their fakeness with rather than be real. Because for whatever reason, they're ashamed to be real. They're embarrassed to be real, so they're fake. But it's not going to change the reality. The reality is today's society, people are so messed up, okay? People do not know how to treat each other. We have created narcissistic, psychopathic women. We have created the female Frankenstein. Whoever said Frankenstein had to be a man? We have literally created female Frankensteins through putting them on a pedestal, putting them above us, not holding them accountable for their wrongs, excusing their behaviors, and attacking other guys and being an enabler of the problem. Because that's what you see going on. You see people enabling, men enabling the problem, keeping it alive by attacking you because you pointed out some woman's wrong behavior. This means you're a woman hater, you're a misogynist. This means you're corrupt and you have mental issues. No, it doesn't mean any of that. But that's what that weak-minded simp, the enabler of the problem, that's the type of logic they're going to throw at you as they continue to follow New World Order, as they go along with the programming. Meanwhile, they'll be on the other side speaking against the corruption while they're walking hand in hand with the evil. They're holding on to the very power to be, the elite at the top's hand, walking side by side with them. That's really what they're doing. And then fighting against them at the same time because they're hypocrites. Because they're so afraid they might scare all the narcissist, psychopathic women off. See, follow what I'm saying here? That's really what's going on. And this is why I don't put up with the shit. I have a wife, yes, that's correct. I have an ex-wife who I was with for a lot of years, and I have a son who's growing up. And we're at work right now. He holds down a job. He's 21 years old. He'll be 22 in March. Okay? He's been raised by me his whole life. His mother was the first woman I ever had in my life. I wasn't awake to NWO, but I was awake to TFL because until I was 28 years old, I had no woman in my life. I lived TFL. Well, how do you think I came up with the name TFL, True Force Loneliness? How do you think I was able to bring it up online when I did? Because I lived it. I witnessed it, seen it with my own eyes. And you all know, if you know me, that's what woke me up to MWO. Because I wanted to find out why women were treating men this way. Why we were doing this to each other and other men were attacking you when you said something and you were being thrown shaming tactics and put down and told it was your own fault. When you knew it wasn't your fault, you'd done everything society told you to do, you were being told it was your fault anyhow. And I wanted to find this out. I wanted to find out why. So I started doing my homework and looking into it. And then I wound up waking up to NWO. Yeah. That's where it came from, guys. That's why it's so important, like with Steve Hoka. He'll tell you straight up, guys, that if he's on a job servicing a furnace or air conditioner, he has to find the root cause. I'll tell you straight up because I have a lot of trade skills behind me. I remodeled homes for years. I went to school to become an auto mechanic, and I finished the school and I went to work for Yellow Cab, and I drove a Yellow Cab, and I fixed the cars. I repaired the cars before I went into remodels. I got tired of being out in the cold day in the winter in the snow at freaking 3 in the morning trying to fix a cab. I got tired of holding cold tools, freezing my hands off trying to fix cold steel. So I changed careers. Okay? And I have lots of trade skills behind me. And I understand repairing things and fixing things and building things. And I understand it to a cause and to root cause. And it's no different when it comes to this. You have to look for the cause, not the symptom. MRA, for years now, has told a lot of truth, but every truth they tell you is symptom, symptom, symptom. When you look at MGTOW, they got a lot of videos up there complaining about women, but they're showing you all the symptoms. The symptoms. They're not showing you the cause. Why we're acting this way, why we're doing what we're doing. And people's not willing to back up and recognize right from wrong and practice doing unto each other that they want done unto themselves. And this has to happen if we're ever going to change this or turn this around. But it has to happen for both genders. And you're not going to get the women to do it because you've been too busy pampering them. You've been too busy placing them up above yourself. You've been too busy excusing their behaviors and not making them accountable to their behaviors. This is why men going their own way was so vital. Because if men really went their own way, I mean for real, and we could do it in mass numbers, you could force the women into waking up. Then they would get to find out what living true forced loneliness really is, and it wouldn't be one woman in all these years I've been doing it that was living true forced loneliness. You would have more and more women living TFL. And through living it, they would have to change their mindset, wouldn't they? They would have to realize that, guess what? We're human too. Why do you think it's so shameful to watch Girls' Rights What Karen Stroud up there and then 5 women, 7 years accomplished 0? Meanwhile, you can't turn on your television set without male shaming 365 days a year. And do you see them speaking against male shaming and crying against Hollywood and the media to stop their damn male shaming? No, you don't. Because they was never here for us, guys. They're here for the tool, money. That's all they care about. It's like these guys that are fraudulent MGTOWers. They're here for stats and fame. And they're running from a name called TFL or Incel. They don't want to be associated with TFL or Incel because they're afraid to be associated with TFL or Incel. They're afraid of a name. Pretty pathetic, isn't it? To be afraid of a name. For something they didn't cause themselves. For something they didn't do to themselves. That the powers to be, NWO, done to them. But yet they're ashamed of what's been done to them. That they're going to hide behind and hide. That's really what you're seeing. And not understand that men going their own way was the answer? Do you think men going their own way and MGTOW went on mainstream media because of accident? No. The powers to be recognized that was the one thing that could overturn all this division. They couldn't have that. They couldn't allow that. So they put it mainstream and corrupted it. And so now you have phonies up here that are actually TFLers in denial and agents, plants of the government, of the corruption for NWO to destroy men going their own way. So when you had MGTOW running around preaching pump and dump onto women, which happened, that destroys the concept of men going their own way. That's exactly what the powers to be wanted. Because they did not want men really going their own way. And that is exactly what needs to happen if you're going to wake the opposite gender up. Because you spent too many years placing her on a pedestal. You spent too many years putting her above yourself, creating double standards, and not holding her accountable. Did you? I mean, it's no different than domestic abuse. A man cannot be a victim of domestic abuse. You didn't know that, did you? Even if she's beating you over the head with a baseball bat, hitting you with a hammer, you're not a victim. There's no laws that's going to back you up. There's no laws that's... You can't find a shelter for men. Good luck. There's only a couple of them in all of the United States for a man that's being battered by a woman. The majority of men are going to laugh at the guy for being battered by a woman. Finding a shelter for battered men by women is a joke. But if you're a woman, you got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them to choose from. But if you're a man, good luck. You're most likely be in a cardboard box in the woods. That's going to be your shelter. But don't worry, you still couldn't be a victim of a woman. Even if she openly smashed you in the face with a baseball bat, you're not a victim of domestic abuse. She is, not you. All she's got to do is lie. She could punch and bash herself to leave a mark on herself, and then after she smashes you in the face, tell the cop, well, he did this and this to me, and to get him off, I hit him with this to stop him from beating me because I was in fear of my life. And you're going to go to jail, and the entire time she done the damage to herself and to you. And we've enabled this problem because we're the ones that placed them there. We created that Frankenstein. And that's why it's so important for people to understand the true concept of men going their own way and to overturn it and make it be real. And actually go your own way. Which means no more complaining about women. Walk away from them. Don't give a flying crap about them. Don't help them out. Don't enable them. Let them find out what it's like to live TFL. If enough of us men got together and really did that in this world, but we have our problem, don't we? We have our chads. You know, all the guys that the women are chasing after, you know, that 80% percentage of women anymore is probably 95% of the women chasing after 20% of the men. Then men are who should be attacked by should be attacked. The enabler of this problem, the men like that, should be attacked by thousands of men and shamed and put down until they stop placing that woman in that spot. Because men are just as much of a human as women are. That woman somehow, you know, in today's society, when a woman has a baby, it's her baby. It's her child. Yep, it's hers. It's hers. Then we have the mentality that, well, for survival, if we don't have women, we'll die out. And I'm like, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute, back up. She can't have a baby naturally without a man. And when you looked at the DNA, it was both genders' DNA. The baby belongs to the father too. But we don't care about men, do we? We're all disposable, right? So she, you know, you got no parental rights. If you get her pregnant, you want the baby and she don't want it, she gets to go abort that baby and there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. You have no parental rights at all. And if you're with a woman that already has kids by some other man, did you know you could become responsible to pay that man's child support for them kids? Yes, you could. This is how fucked up our society is, people. You know, this is really what it's all about. So, I've given a live stream today of rant. This is my rant, okay? My TFL Rant Plus, right? It'd be my TFL Rant Plus because I talked a little bit about how people want to shut people up. I talked a little bit about why Jerry and I broke up and we're not talking no more. Why I'm not doing nothing with him no more. I told you the real truth for what happened behind the scenes now. That if he wants to continue to say how he's going to miss me, but he's tired of being a victim to me, he was never a victim by me. He victimized me first. I just wasn't supposed to do anything about it. I was supposed to allow his shaming tactics to work and shut me up so that he could control me. I wasn't allowed to do my own videos on the side without him controlling what I say. Like with Rhonda. They'll watch my stuff, but they need to control my behavior or what I talk about. No, they don't need to control it. How many of you people want to be controlled by somebody else? That's right. It's complete insanity. And the real reason was to shut me up. That's what it was all about. To become an enabler. To allow this problem to continue. To keep it quiet. It's taboo. Cover it up. Because he was a simp. He was a handicapped simp. I liked him. I considered him a good friend. We could have became brothers. But his ego got ahead of him. And he had to decide to control me. He had to decide he was the leader of the pack. He had to do things he should have never done. You know? And so I was a white knight for men. It was a shaming tactic to shut me up. Because we attack white knights for women, don't we? Because they're enablers. So they figured if they told me I was a white knight for men, it would be the same results. And of course it's not. To me, it was like I'm proud to be a white knight for men. Because I don't see anybody standing up for men. I see everybody throwing men under the bus. Yeah, they didn't like that. Their shaming tactic backfired on them. But that was Rhonda and Jerry. That's what they did for us. When you say who Rhonda is, just remember she was the gal that came up on my live streams for TFL. She was best known as Matilda online. If you want to know who that is. But I say no more as far as the actual real name or where she's from, because it's not about getting her in trouble in her personal life. It's just about calling the truth for what the truth is. And I don't need people trying to control me and shut me up from telling truth. Because you only want to deal with one side of evil, a war of evil versus good, and leave millions of men to suffer because you're evil yourself, because you don't give a shit about nobody but yourself, or because you're jealous because you want to be part of the elite, or whatever your lame excuse is, because I don't buy it's too personal. Yes, TFL is a personal topic. Yes, MGTOW is personal. Yes, it's a personal topic. But how would it not be personal when they attack the family unit? But anyhow, so you either have to grow tough skin and be willing to fight the whole war, or just make yourself into a complete dumbass as far as I'm concerned. But I'm going to get on out of here, guys. That's my rant for today. You all have a good one. With that being said, I'm out of here.